Well, this hangout is on the Disability Integration Act, so we can learn more about it and what we can do to help. One of our presenters today is Stephanie Woodward from Center for Disability Rights, New York, and she's also Miss Wheelchair Florida 2014. I just have to throw that in there. And yeah, I'll go ahead and let everyone introduce themselves.
Cool. Take it away, Brooklyn.
All right, I'm always the bee. I'm always first.
Yeah.
So I'm Brooklyn. I'm from Ontario, Canada. I don't have much to contribute to this discussion since I'm not in America, but I'm here just for a listening ear, really.
Brooklyn is also our YouTube expert. She manages the YouTube channel for NMD United. So she will
have it uploaded soon.
That's right. So thank you this will be recorded. So I am Emily Walensky. I'm from Austin, Texas. I am part of an organization called NMD United, which is a peer-led association of adults with neuromuscular disabilities. The Disability Integration Act is something that I am very interested in, I want to help with, and want to learn about. So thanks for having me. All right, who's next? Oh, did I skip Dawn? I skipped Dawn. I don't know alphabetical order very well, did I? Do I? All right, go ahead, Dawn.
That's okay. Hi, I'm Dawn, and I am from a suburb of Atlanta, but I work in Atlanta, and I'm also interested in learning more about this Disability Integration Act and how we can work together to make it a reality.
All right, who's next?
Should I get it?
Francis, you're next. Can you hear?
Sorry, I couldn't hear. But so I'm Frances Isbell. I'm from Gadsden, Alabama. I'm in law school right now at the University of Alabama. Really interested in the Disability Integration Act. I did a paper last semester on like Olmsted and just kind of the problems with trying to get people out of nursing homes, things like that. I don't know that much about the act other than what I've read just kind of on ADAP's website, but yeah, I'd love to learn more and what I can do to help.
All right, who's next?
I don't know. Is it me?
Yeah, I guess it's alphabetical order. So
I didn't know who was coordinating the.
I'm trying to be organized here. It's not working out very well.
The alphabet is coordinating us.
Yeah, right. So my name is Jeff Hoffman. I probably the way most of you know me here is I created a group on Facebook called Living with Muscular Dystrophy, which we're now up to about 925 members. And the main thing about that group was that we try to keep the group limited to people that actually have a disability, as opposed to other groups I was in that had caregivers and third parties in there. And that created a pretty different environment for advocacy and things like that. I hope that we can grow it and use it for things like the Disability Integration Act to get more action on it. So, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah.
Hey, Jensen. We're having an issue with your mic, Jensen. I am so sorry.
Some kind of a technical malfunction.
Sound like
Joseph, you sound like Stephanie's cat.
yeah, you sound kind of like a chipmunk. Like you kind of sound like a chipmunk on acid. And I don't way. I don't. You might want to try to like. I don't know. You can.
I would say log out and log back in.
Yeah, I would say log out, log back in, or type your answer in the chat. But we probably want to hear you talk.
Or you can talk and we just, as long as you don't mind if we laugh.
So you should start singing that like Christmas, Christmas time is here. It would be awesome. All right. All right. All right, he's gonna probably come back. Okay, and Maria, do you want to say hi?
You skipped L for Laura.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I suck.
Alrighty. I'm Laura Halverson. I'm originally from Texas, but now I live right outside of Washington, D.C. I'm the U.S. Communications Director of the Dear Juliana Project that Emily is also a part of. And I'm also the former Miss Wheelchair Texas 2014, so that's how I know Stephanie. I'm interested in the Disability Integration Act because it affects my life because I'm not eligible for the Medicaid waiver. I'm right above the income level on that, and I've been on a wait list forever. So, you know, this, well, very much it's where I'm eligible for attendant care.
All right, is it my turn now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Maria. I am from the city of Atlanta, and I am interested in learning about this act and how it would affect me and my community. I am a board member of NMD United with Emily, and any information that I can pass on to my peers would be very useful.
All right, well, I'm TK. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm also on the board of NMD United. I've been involved with ADAPT for 25 years or so, and have been arrested a couple of times. And I was actually at the Supreme Court arguments for the Olmstead case when it was argued, and we were there for an all-night vigil. And so I was there in body, but I wasn't really paying attention because I was exhausted from being awake all night. But in any event, you know, getting people out of nursing homes and into the community is really important. And, you know, ADAPT has really been driving this issue for 25 years. And when they first got involved with it, when ADAPT was first created, it was started with transportation issues. And then after the passage of the ADA, they shifted their focus to community-based services. So there's been a lot of different versions of the law, and we've gotten close a couple of times, and I'm really excited to see that the Disability Integration Act is the current iteration of this really important civil rights piece to helping free our people.
Awesome.
Awesome. And Jensen, now that you're back, let's see what you sound like. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I can't hear you, Jensen. So, oh wait. Is he here? Did he come back? Oh, yeah. Okay. Wait, I see something. He's moving. This is fascinating. I see a counter. It looks like a counter. Well, okay. Well, in the meantime, until Jensen is available, why don't we have Stephanie introduce herself Oh, I can kind of see him. He's coming in. He's coming in. I see his forehead.
Hi, can you hear me better?
Yes. Hello.
Yay! Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Anyways, I'm Jensen, and I'm involved with the Center for Disability Rights, and I'm excited to be with you guys. I used to live in a nursing home, so you know, I'm very passionate about the Disability Integration Act.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you. And now, last but not least, our host, Stephanie Woodward.
Well, nobody told me I was hosting this.
Well, you're not hosting it, but you're really helping us out because you have all the information that we need. I shouldn't call you. All right, Laura's, she's taking it. She's kind of hosty.
Yeah, just put the pressure on anyone else. I'm fine with that. Just
All
put
right.
the pressure anywhere else.
All right.
Had I
So,
known this was a video thing and I actually read my email, I would have showered for you guys. Sorry about that. But again, I don't pay my electric. I'm not going to pay for water either. So I'm Stephanie Woodward. I'm in Rochester, New York. I am with ADAPT and the Center for Disability Rights, and spent the last 2 years writing the Disability Integration Act. Well, CASA and MiCASA came before. The Disability Integration Act is completely new language from scratch. Basically, the idea came after the Affordable Care Act was implemented. What came with the Affordable Care Act was the Community First Choice option, which is part of the Affordable Care Act that ADAPT wrote and got into law, which allows states to choose to allow more people to live in the community and get reimbursed through the federal government a 6% additional FMAP, which I would get into, but really it just means a couple million more dollars to states that choose it. The problem is it's still a choice. And what we realized is we want a civil right to live in the community. We don't want it to be a state's choice, and we don't want it to be under Medicaid law because there's tons of cripples out there that are under private insurance. So being a civil right is much more important to us than it being in part of any insurance law. So I would just want to give you a brief intro to DIA and then really answer all of your questions. Disability Integration Act has one basic requirement, that people with disabilities have an absolute right to live in the community. If an insurance provider is going to pay for a person to live in a nursing facility, they must pay for the person to live in the community and get community supports and services. So whether that be your state Medicaid or your private Excelis or other private insurers throughout the nation, anyone paying for nursing facility care must pay for that in the community, which is a really cool thing. One fun additive we threw in there was that states also must work to create more affordable, accessible, integrated housing, because there's no point in getting people out of institutions if they have nowhere to live. And with a large housing shortage, particularly with accessible, affordable, integrated housing, nobody's going to get out if they don't have a place to live, or if they do get out, they're going to be in segregated settings in the buildings that are for people with disability or 65 and up. And that's not the only choice out there. And so those are your fun things that are included. I've been getting a lot of questions about, does it cover mental health? Does it cover this? Does it cover that? We didn't get into specific disabilities very much because we don't want this to be a program bill. This is a civil rights bill. Just like the ADA doesn't get very much into all of people's specific disabilities, it gets into your rights. That's exactly what the Disability Integration Act does. It doesn't get into your specific disability, it gets into your right as a person with a disability. So with that, I'm gonna throw it back to Laura, who's hosting this, so that she can, do the moderating thing.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, for more information on what's all included in the law, go to disabilityintegrationact.org. If you click on requirements, it lists, I think, is it different requirements, I believe. Or I think they have it written down as 4. But there's a lot of information on there, and also if you go to ADAPT's website, there's also more information on the Disability Integration Act. But basically, has everyone looked at the website disabilityintegrationact.org, where they kind of have a general idea about the bill? Yes.
unmuted everyone because I don't want to be like crazy mute lady. I just when people I tend to talk, I tend to mute people, and then when the floor becomes open, I unmute. But if you want to be able to control that yourself, go right ahead. If I hear background noise, I'll mute you. It's not an insult, or I'm not trying to silence your voice. It's important. It's just also got to be part of the whole thing. So I just wanted to say that. Sorry about that. So yeah, the disabilityintegrationact.org. Why don't we, do you want to just start with questions, Laura?
Yeah, we can just start with questions and we can just answer people's specific questions they have.
Okay, there's also a hand raising feature in the participants thing where you can click and raise your hand. So, I mean, I think what you do is you can click on yourself and then it'll say like raise hand if you want to do that and be called on, or you could just shout out your answer, whatever question.
I'd like to know a little bit more about how the housing components of the program go into play, because I used to work in affordable housing, so I know that financing that whole mess is a huge, huge, huge problem. And so, like you mentioned that you don't want this to be like a program bill. So having civil rights to housing is, a good step in the right direction. But how do we go from having the civil rights to actually having the apartment or roof over your head?
Okay, so that's fantastic. Basically what we did was we created the requirement that states have to provide accessible, affordable, integrated public and private housing. So it can't just be the public HUD housing and all that you get. What we did was we decided, screw this, why should we have to go through all the details of telling you what to do? We're creating a right. So very much like the ADA says you can't discriminate against people with disabilities, we then said this should be up to either the Department of Justice or the Administration of Community Living to create the actual regulations, because the Department of Justice and the Administration on Community Living are going to be the two entities that are in charge of overseeing every state and insurance company. So they're the ones that would create the regulations on exactly how it would be implemented. Of course, we also made very clear that there needs to be a strong open comment period so that every organization and entity that wants to put in comments on what should be required, what the percentage should be, all of that would be included, but those would be under the regulations after it's passed.
I had a question. I know you said that you're keeping it very general under disability, but where is the definition for disability listed? Like what definition are you going under? Is it the definition that the ADA uses?
The definition of disability, the definition is a person with an LTSS disability. So what we did was we used the person with a disability definition under ADA. So we took that definition and said a person with a disability is as defined under the ADA. A person with an LTSS disability is a person who is eligible for long-term services and supports in that state. So a person who, when they're evaluated, would be evaluated to require services and supports in a nursing facility is the person with an LTSS disability, and therefore would require services. What we knew we couldn't do is just say everyone with a disability has a right to all these services in the community, because what that would do is create a ton more people with disabilities who suddenly have a right to attendance services than actually need them, because that guy over there with diabetes may not actually need attendance services. But if we used the plain definition of person with a disability, then suddenly he would be eligible for such. So,
okay, so it is a little bit more specific in
right.
that. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
And I actually had a question for you. Will this include like the elderly, like that need help at home and are at risk of going to nursing homes?
Yeah. Despite what old people think, they are actually disabled. I know it's hard for them to grasp this concept. Old people like to say, I'm not disabled, I'm just old, and that's why I need a wheelchair, or that's why I can't see. And I'm like, I'm just going to throw out something from left field here, maybe because you can't see because you're blind. I don't know, which is a disability. So any person, we say people with disabilities and elderly because we recognize that elderly people refuse to identify, but we don't want someone to lose out on rights because they refuse to identify. My boss, who is a very proud gay man, likes to say, I'm not going to require a man to say he's gay in order to get HIV treatment. Men like to sleep with men and call themselves straight and not identify as gay. They still need HIV treatment. Old people who just call themselves old and not disabled still need LTSS services. So it's available to any person, any age, who requires long-term services and supports.
What do you think the likelihood is of getting AARP to be a sponsor of the bill?
You thought of my question, Laura.
I believe we actually received a letter of support from AARP back in April. Profanity, my bad. I hope you all get used to it.
That was my second word as a child was shit. So.
Well, that's good. My niece's first word was bitch, but that was in sign language, so.
Well, good. That makes me happy that AARP is supporting, because I think, that'll get politicians' attention, because I think they are asking.
Is it just a letter at this point, or is it more of a?
So we have the letter. What we did back when we were trying to get Senator Schumer to introduce back way, I gotta say April maybe, we collected letters of support from organizations across the nation saying, we want this bill introduced, please introduce this bill. So I believe AARP was one of them. Notably, one that really does make a difference is SEIU, which is a union, came out in support of this, and we are usually either at complete odds with SEIU or best friends, depending on the day. SEIU has come out as a labor union in support of this, which a lot of people were fearful that they weren't, because a lot of people in labor unions work at nursing facilities. But again, a lot are attendants in the community as well. So that's a big one as well. What we are doing right now is if you go to the disabilityintegrationact.org website, you'll see a tab that says support, and you can click support the Disability Integration Act. And that's where we're getting organizations right now to actually sign on as a public supporter, where you can sign up your organization and an authorized representative can sign them up to support the Disability Integration Act. So I can check with you on, check in on AARP for you to see if they've signed up yet. But I can tell you that there's certainly an organization we work with.
Excellent. Thank you.
I mean, and also, so would it be easy for NMD United as a 501c3 to sign that list, or would we have to do something extra?
Yeah, we like to make it as easy as possible because, we like advocacy and lots of people like easy advocacy. Go to disabilityintegrationact.org, click support, sign up your organization as long as you have an authorized person, because we can't just I can't go in and sign up for AARP. Apparently I'm not an authorized representative. Although I did get a card in the mail with my name on it at the ripe old age of 27. So maybe I could. But if you have an authorized representative who could sign you up, please do. That's one great way to help. Another great way is call your freaking senators and ask them to sign on.
Yeah.
So
New York has already signed on. Both senators.
okay, right. And that's another thing. So right now, what are the chances of this passing? And if it were to pass the first time around, would you reintroduce it? I mean, would you fiddle with it and bring it back up? I mean, what are the chances at this point this could pass? And how long, what is the timeline?
The chances of it passing are, I've got to be very honest, are really up to you. People with disabilities seem excited about this, but spreading a meme is different than calling your legislator and asking them to sign on. So where we've seen actual activity, we've seen a lot of senators and a lot of representatives show extreme interest in this. But senators don't sign on just for shits and giggles. They sign on because their people are telling them to. So what we really need to do is drum up actual support rather than just spreading memes, which people are great at doing. But that's not the same as a phone call or an email. Realistically, I see this as a probably 3 to 5 year fight for this. We don't plan on changing the language. with the way sessions work, we wouldn't have to reintroduce it for 2 years. But Senator Schumer loves the language. We worked with his office. I gotta say, painstakingly might be a nice word to use after the amount of drafts and redrafts we went through. But we did all that work to make it the perfect little baby that it is. And maybe I talk about it with way too much sentimental value, but I raised this thing and I'm very proud of it. And I can't wait to see it free our people.
Good, good. Jeff, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so my representatives, I have the pleasure of being represented by Tom Tillis and Richard Burr. They are both Tea Party candidates. What would you say is the likelihood of them supporting this? Like, am I just wasting my time with them, or is it worth a call? Is it worth me getting in my van, going to Raleigh, scheduling a meeting with them? Like, how far do I need to go?
Fuck yes. Completely worth it. Tea Partiers, your greatest arguments here are family values. Nobody wants to put mommy in a nursing home. Poor grandma, she's 87. Shouldn't she be able to live at home? Your second argument after family values is fiscal responsibility. Living in the community, has studies have shown over and over again, is cheaper than nursing facilities.
Yes.
So you got your family values and you got your financial wins over here. Don't argue civil rights because they don't give a shit about your civil rights. Don't even waste your breath on civil rights. Argue that with your liberals all day long. Yay, civil rights. Whee! When it comes to your Tea Partiers, family values and finances are all they give a shit about, and we've got those on the winning side over here. It's certainly worth your time and effort because I hate to break it to you, both senators on both sides of the line have to pass this. We are not going to get this passed by just Democrats voting for it.
What about the relative power of a phone call versus face-to-face?
I think face-to-face is always more powerful, particularly if you have a compelling story of you personally being at risk of being in a nursing facility, because nobody likes to look someone in the eye and say, yeah, no, I'd rather you just go be trapped with no reason. And Jensen can tell you that he's great at personal stories all day long. I'm pretty sure he could make a staffer cry if he wanted to. So while I'm usually not about drumming up the pity, using a powerful personal story without, having kittens dying and shit, can be really powerful to get this thing passed, particularly if you can get a meeting with the actual person rather than just their legislator or their staffer. But if you can get friendly with one important staffer, that can change your world. I gotta tell you, we got Senator Gillibrand to sign on just because we called every single day and asked for the same staffer. And I was like, hey, how you doing? Do you want us to stop calling? We could totally stop calling. All you gotta do is put your name on and you can do something else with your life. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have my staff keep calling you 4 times a day. Your voicemail, you have to check it because we can call different numbers. And if you don't check your voicemails, then you're not going to get voicemails from other people because we're going to clog up your inbox.
All right.
Is signed on.
Awesome.
So don't be afraid to use multiple tactics.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Jensen, you have your hand up, and then I think Frances has hers up. So, all right, go ahead, Jensen.
All right. So I wanted to talk about the issue that people with disabilities face in our community. I faced it too. When I was 15 years old, I was institutionalized, and I was forced to live in a nursing facility until I was 21 years old. And some of the obstacles that I faced were not being able to find affordable, accessible housing. I kept getting denied for long-term services and supports and things like that. And they kept denying me for things like, oh, you're too young, you don't know how to manage your own program, you don't have natural supports, and things like that. So mind you, I've been in there since I was 15 years old. I don't have any experience with being out on my own, and they were denying me for these things. So I think, from my understanding is that the DIA makes it, a fundamental right for us to live in a community. States won't be able to use the excuse that, oh, we don't have affordable, accessible housing for you, or you're not eligible for this service. We need states to realize that your civil rights to live in the community, to start a family, to get a job, to benefit from the ADA is being violated when you're forced to live in a nursing home. So a lot of people are very excited about this right now, and we want that. But yeah, that's all I have to say is, it's a big issue. I didn't just face it. A lot of other people are facing it all over the U.S. And we need to, come together to end the institutional bias.
Francis, you want to go next?
Yeah, so I have a few thoughts. You may have already answered some of them because I had some internet problems a minute ago, so it cut out. But so back to the housing, something so I've always thought about is, for me, part of the problem is that even like, say, new apartment complexes, they don't really have to be very accessible. The requirements are very, very minimal. And so for me, the problem is more of finding a place that's accessible, more so than the cost sometimes. Like even in Tuscaloosa, I couldn't find a single apartment that was accessible in the whole city. So I think, I wonder if like just even having a requirement for new apartment complexes to just build bathrooms a certain way, which is not in like housing guidelines right now, how is that incorporated into the housing guidelines in this act? Does that address like new buildings and how they're built, or is it just, I don't know, does that question make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. And we decided we weren't the housing experts. We're not going to tell people how to do this. We're going to create a right that you must provide this. And then the Administration on Community Living and the Department of Justice, who create the regulations to go along with the statute, after a statute is passed, they would have a certain amount of time to create those regulations that would come with those specifics of bathrooms must be this many feet wide versus this many, because the FHA right now, which does have the housing, has minimal standards, and that's being kind. So for us, it is about not only just accessibility, it's also about affordability, because we have houses here that are brand new and fully accessible if you have $3,000 a month to pay for them. Unfortunately, what I hear, rumor is people with disabilities tend not to have $3,000 for rent all the time. I don't know, unless you're talking about that 80-year-old person that just cracked a rib after being a billionaire, or the trust fund babies. Otherwise, the rest of us are on Social Security, not paying that much. So affordable, accessible, and integrated is how we've defined the requirements. However, we also believe that during the regulation process, safety will also be addressed, that the housing must be provided throughout the state in different neighborhoods as well. You can't just have it all in one specific area. It needs to be in urban, suburban, countryside, rural, that's what we're calling it, not countryside, rural and frontier, which I don't have many frontier lands in New York, but I hear that they exist in the country, and there has to be accessible housing there, and it has to be in neighborhoods, safe and not safe, because some people actually want to live in not safe neighborhoods. If that's where they want to live, more power to you, man. But if you want to live in a safe neighborhood, there needs to be options there as well. So those will all be covered when the ACL and DOJ make the regulations.
So my next question is, what do you think the arguments are going to be against the act, the strongest arguments? Just, I guess, to try to come up with, the best counter arguments. What do you think that kind of people against the act will try to say are the problems with this? besides, I mean, obviously they might say, well, it's going to cost money and we don't want to spend money. But other than that, is there anything else that you think might come up?
So money is going to be a number one argument, and because it's easy to say that's going to cost money. You can create any law and say it's going to cost money. The important thing is to validly show that while it may cost more money to let some people with disabilities live in the community, if it's 24-hour service, all that stuff, on the aggregate, if a person only needs 8 hours of service, most of the people who are living in the community and need services don't need 24-hour service. So on the aggregate, it's cheaper to allow people with disabilities to live in the community and get supports and services in the community. Another argument that we had anticipated was from the unions that this was going to kill jobs for nursing facilities. However, with getting unions on our side already, we're seeing that is probably less of a threat, although that is something that's going to come up. You're also going to see your typical everyday fear mongering of we can't let these people live in our neighborhood. It's particularly because this does cover everybody. Mental health, physical disability, all of this. So we're going to see a lot of people saying, oh no, that means they're going to let the crazies out in the neighborhood. And fuck yeah, that's exactly what it means, because we live in the neighborhood. So that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of patronizing comments of, well, people with disabilities need to live in the institutions. And I have a feeling that a lot of pushback is going to be coming from family groups. Because family groups tend to have a patronizing nature that these people can't take care of themselves. They need to be taken care of in, you know, a place with padded walls and locks on the door. And that's not what we need. So the point is that we need a stronger disability voice to come out to really drown out the noise that I think a lot of the family groups will be making.
To provide a little bit of background information to what Stephanie was just saying about the family groups, many groups that represent like the parents of people with developmental disabilities, when it came time to, they were actively working against the Community Choice Act and things that would sort of legislate what the Olmsted decision was all about. So they were actively, and we even changed it so that the Community Choice Act said everything was optional. Nobody's going to be forced to live in a community that doesn't want to, and they still were very, very vocal in opposing this thing, because this idea of their quote-unquote kids not being taken care of is really scary to them.
I learned recently in my advocacy work in Texas, good old Texas, that there's a parent group called PART. Has anyone ever heard of PART? Good old PART. Imagine what that stands for. PART stands for the Parent Association for the Retarded of Texas. Let me repeat that. The Parent Association for the Retarded of Texas. And basically, PART is...
Are you sure it's not the Association of Retarded Parents?
No, that would be a different acronym. No, this acronym is a bunch of parents who are fighting to keep their children safe in institutions. And it blew my mind.
Perfect example.
Huh?
Perfect example.
Perfect example. PART is sick, and every time ADAPT comes out to an event about shutting down the institutions, the state, they call it the state supported living center because they want to make it sound pretty, like it's like a really nice place to be. It's supporting, and anyway, anytime ADAPT comes out, PART also shows up. And PART is like, no, my child has been here for so many years. They're so used to things here. Don't put them out into that scary community. Don't let them figure this out for themselves. They can't do this. Only the state can help them. And then they get stories of their children, and like the ones that haven't been killed. They get those stories, and then they make it sound like it's such a great, wonderful place. And then obviously the people working in the state supported living centers, they are all for their jobs. So they are out there, you know, like putting their arm around the child and, you know, like giving, you know, feeding them dinner, and rather than starving them, which is what a lot of people have been, you know, a lot of the living centers have been getting in trouble for. And it's like this really whack whole thing. But that's what I find. It's very political in that sense, where these, you know, the nursing home lobby has got to be sick. Like, it's got to be insane right now. It seems like that's going to be a huge thing to overcome.
Greg Abbott's knee deep in the nursing home lobby, but it's important to let them know, you know, we're not forcing, if people want to be in nursing homes, they're not going to force them out of nursing homes with this law. This is just to give people that option. Like, you know, people like me on private insurance, my only option is nursing, going to a nursing home if I want care, and that's not right.
So is your audience mostly institutionally directed, or is there also a component to keep people from having to take that option? I mean, would you say that that's almost a more important angle in a sense?
Our goal is keeping people in the community, period. Transition or diversion, either way, I don't care. It's a lot easier to keep people in the community if they're already in the community, because currently our system has made the easy button institutionalization, and once you're in, seems like you're in for life. It can make you really feel that way. So diversion is very important to us to make sure that anyone at risk, so again, anyone who needs LTSS support, it doesn't matter if you're already in an institution or not. You don't have to go into the institution. In fact, we even made a part of the regulation, or a part of the enforcement part of the law, says specifically that a person doesn't have to do a futile gesture, which basically means I don't have to go into the institution before I sue my insurance provider for not giving me the support, because I know that I'm going to eventually end up in that institution if you don't give me this support. So I don't have to wait until I get there to sue you for not providing me with that support. I can sue you the moment that I'm eligible for that support and you don't give it to me.
Well, and also, like, who's determining eligibility and like the amount of care hours that people are going to be getting once they earn the right to be in the community? Like, who gets to determine that number? And how, like, and I know you say that you're kind of putting that on them to decide, but that's a kind of a frightening thing too, because like the housing, it's like this all could come about, but there could be so many things that are fucked with once it's out and about that it could actually, you know, not really accomplish much. And that's what scares me a little bit. I'm not saying that I don't support it, because I do. I just worry that, you know, it's going to be a kind of a futile, like, you know, thing where they're just going to say, oh yeah, this is definitely your civil right. But then once you get out and it's yours, you're gonna get like 2 hours of care a day. You know, you're like, who's gonna be, you know, in charge of that part of it? Are you gonna have more of a voice in how that's determined? I mean, like, how does that work? Is it your doctor that's gonna help with that? I mean, like, how is that gonna help?
Okay, so the process would be very similar to how states do this right now when they send out someone to evaluate you for your needs. You're evaluated and the state pays for it. So wait, give me a second here. Calm your shit. I'm a lawyer. I covered my bases. So right now, some states are doing this pretty well. So these states are going to be allowed to change their method. And in fact, what we can do for enforcement is that tracking a person, so say Jensen already has LTSS services in the community. Someone exactly like Jensen comes along now that the law is in place and they try to reduce the hours and give them less hours. The Administration on Community Living has the authority to come in and smack you in the face and say, I see what you're doing here. You're trying to lower it to lower costs and something. But no, someone with the exact same disability got more before, they have to get the same here. So states won't be able to just try to trick you. And we're already seeing this with some states switching to managed care, where private companies are trying to lower hours. And these private companies are getting smacked around and starting to get sued because you're violating the rights of people with disabilities by lowering their hours. So those same systems would be in place. And then additionally, on top of that, the Administration on Community Living and Department of Justice will put in other regulations to do tracking to ensure that people with disabilities have a right to live in the community. And on top of that, if all else fails and you are measured for 4 hours of service a week and that's not enough to help you, you know how we know that it's not enough to help you? You end up in the institution, and the moment you end up in that institution, you have now failed. The insurance company has failed. States will then be penalized for not following through. And then they have to let you out anyway, because the moment you're in an institution, you are now eligible for those services in the community. So no matter how you try to beat this horse, I still win in the end.
So oh, sorry.
I can't figure out how to raise my hand.
Well, okay.
You have much
I stipulate I'm raising my hand right now.
All
But
right.
I have a two-part legal question. It relates to the enforcement of the new rules. Is this a private right of action, and does the DIA include for the provision of attorney's fees?
Oh, as an attorney, let me answer this for you. Not only does it have a private right to action, in addition to the Attorney General being able to step in, attorney's fees can be granted in addition to damages.
Damages, yeah, baby.
Yeah. That's great. Well, very nice. Thanks for including that. So I when I lived in a center for, I didn't live, when I worked for a center for independent living, that really isn't a center for independent living. It's more of like, it's like some kind of creepy, horrible place in Austin, Texas. But anyway, people would call in, and we had a program called, oh my God, what is that program? You know the program that helps people that are in institutional settings get out. What is it called? It's like a
Money follows the person.
Yes, money follows that person. And money follows the person. We had one of those, like a person that was in charge of that. But there was nothing more heartbreaking than me having to tell people, well, I'm sorry you can't get the care you need. I think what you're going to have to do is go, get into a nursing home so you can use money follows the person to get out of the nursing home. And that was the creepiest. So I really appreciate the fact that that's not going to be something that people are going to have to do, that it's not going to be tied directly to being in an institutionalized setting first. So that's one thing. Another thing is I realize that people are encouraged, this law says live wherever you want, live in the community. And I find that sometimes that is interpreted by families as you're going to have to come back home and live with us, and we're going to have to do everything. So is there going to be like an educational component to this whole thing where people will not feel like that civil right is really just kind of a way to just get their families to take on a burden, and that's where it's going to get tricky? Am I making sense in that question?
Yeah, that completely makes sense. So throughout all of our advocacy, we're doing education on this because, quite frankly, most of the people I know don't actually want to go home and live with mom. Weird. So we're certainly going to be doing education with people with disabilities to let them know that, no, you actually don't have to be 30 and living with your mom, or 48 and living with your mom, or, any age. But also after passage, very much like the Department of Justice currently already makes small business guide to the ADA, service dogs in the ADA, like they have basically every subject you can think of and the ADA in these cute little handbooks that have cartoons, because apparently that is the only way the general public can understand that you can't discriminate against people with disabilities. There will also be similar guidelines books put out basically explaining that living in the community means that's your fucking choice. You want to live in the community and live with your best friend. You want to live with like your boyfriend who's in a circus and does weird things with his arms. Like, have at it. You want to go make bad choices? All you, bro. That's all I knew, so go for it. You want to live with your mom? You guys are that tight and she's that good of a cook? All right, that's weird. You'll never have a boyfriend, but okay, go for it. So those kinds of things will also be out. So right now, education portion is educating through things like this. Me coming in and blabbering for a while. I'd have TK judge me for eating chips. But then afterwards, the education component.
Backstory here. I was owed potato chips from a commitment from 3 weeks ago, and I'm very hungry.
Okay.
If TK had followed through appropriately, those chips would already be on his desk.
I did what I was asked to do, I think.
So, okay. Well, I think, are you going to work or partner with, I hope you don't partner with my Center for Independent Living, but are you going to partner with Centers for Independent Living in doing this? Or you guys, what are you guys doing?
Oh my goodness. It's like you're asking me everything that we've already done so I can feel like I've accomplished things. I never feel this good about shit. Thank you. We actually sent out emails all weekend to different organizations, Centers for Independent Living and other places that are not Centers for Independent Living, that are just, you know, supportive of disability rights, or, you know, supportive of this act or not supportive of disability rights, which I guess is possible. In addition to that, my beautiful, lovely, best boss ever, I don't say this to get a raise or anything, I say this because I love the man to death, sent me an email at 5:55 saying, I just sent out 375 emails to the nickel list asking for all of the member and non-member stills to sign on. So, 375 ain't bad.
Right. I think that's good. I worry, so actually, let me rephrase. What do you need from us as far as, you talked about not doing memes, but do you think that social media is important as far as getting the outrage out? If we were to do some social media stuff, what, like in your mind, what do you think would be the most helpful? Do we want to brainstorm some ideas here tonight of things that we could do to kind of reach out and grab a large audience, get some media attention? Like, you know, what are your thoughts?
There's a ton of different options for you depending on, you know, your interest level and amount of support. So social media is very important. I don't mean to undermine the memes, because memes do play an important role. My issue with memes is a lot of people think that social change happens by sharing a meme. And I'm pretty sure that gay marriage was not legalized because you shared a picture of a rainbow flag. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't think that's how it happened. So what we're really working to do is create memes of actual people with disabilities with a quote from them about how it will impact their lives. Because we want to show that this is not just a theoretical build. This is real people waiting for services, real people who are at risk of institutionalization or who are already in institutions. So that's the memeing that we're really interested in. We also have found that senators really respond to positive attention. So when Kristen Gillibrand signed on, we sent out a meme that said, Kristen Gillibrand, first to co-sponsor Disability Integration Act. She loved it, ate that shit up. And then other senators see that someone else is getting positive attention, and they start wondering, well, how come my people don't make memes about how great I am? Because we're all egocentric little bitches. So those kind of memes are also very helpful. Spreading a meme is one thing. Spreading a meme with also a call your senator message is very important, or call your representative message. There's also these things called action alerts, which you're going to start seeing a lot of, particularly if you're on my email list. And the action alert will say something like, click here to send an email to your representative asking them to sign on, which is probably the easiest thing in the world you can do. You literally click, fill out your name, and press send. Please do those. Not only do those, send them to your friends to do those. Go to actual meetings with your representatives and senators. Join an ADAPT chapter so that you can go and get your ass arrested with us to show how important this is. There's a ton of different ways you can advocate. And call me any day of the week and I will tell you what you can do, and use your talents in different ways. If you want to go become the next Macklemore and write me a disability rights same love, that could do a lot to help our cause at this point. So if any of you are musicians and you want to write the cripple version of Same Love, please come at me.
But now, what about like, have you guys talked about hiring like a major PR firm or I mean, serious hardcore media promotional professionals?
Adapt is their own media PR professionals.
Yeah, I know. What I'm saying is, I mean, like, I'm talking like, I mean, they cost money and they're intense, but they can do a serious damage and get like a lot of attention. Have you guys thought about that at all?
Apparently my internet connection is unstable. That's concerning. I hope that you can still see me. So
Uh-oh.
we weren't the poor stepchild. ADA wasn't passed on a PR firm, and we're confident that this doesn't have to be passed on a PR firm either. Also, PR firms can also lose a lot of authenticity. And paying a company to do what thousands of people with disabilities should be fighting their asses off for anyway kind of pisses me off. I'm from the disability rights mentality where I am sick of trying to pay people to do something that you should be fighting for. Mind you, this is coming from a girl who was paid to do disability rights. But know that I was not paid for many years, and I do a lot of unpaid work. And I see this a lot in ADAPT, is that say we wanted someone to get something done and the ADAPT people don't do it. So then Bruce and I automatically think, well, we could just pay someone to do this. And we're like, why the fuck are we paying someone else to do something that we need to be fighting for? If you don't care enough about it to fight for it yourself, we shouldn't be paying millions for it. If you don't care enough to live in the community and about your own rights to live where you want to live, I'm not going to pay someone else $1 million to do it for you.
I'm just thinking, like, I'm not really thinking about, like, I mean, obviously, I'm going to do everything, and I'm sure a lot of people are, but I was thinking of doing, like, if we, I don't know, like buying ad time on television, buying, going and really, I mean, doing, like, big money stuff, if we could raise money for that purpose to reach a grander audience. I mean, I don't know. I think it might work. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but it's just an idea. I thought. I mean, I think if you wanted to get donations to do something like that, I think that you could find a lot of people with disabilities that would be willing to donate to get the word out and to make some quality videos, quality PR type stuff to promote, the act. And people with disabilities would support that, but I would.
Speaking of fundraising, DAP's having a fun run that'll be in April. Stephanie has a page up. I'm sure Jensen does. I'm about to do mine as well. And so that's one way you can donate, because pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, most of that money is going to be going towards supporting the Disability Integration Act. And then another way you can, a lot of the times making a phone call to your senator, if you can't be there in person, is pretty powerful. Because, I've been in their offices, their phone's not ringing a lot sometimes. And so if you just call and say, call your senator and say you're a constituent with a disability and you need them to co-sponsor Senate Bill 2427, also known as the Disability Integration Act. Just keep it short and sweet like that, and that makes a difference. And just keep on calling them until they finally co-sponsor. Next week, I'm going to be on Capitol Hill with Mara Lee from ADAPT and Joseph, and we're going to be hitting some of the offices in Virginia, Maryland. I'm going to use my Miss Wheelchair Texas title and go to the stupid Texas senators' offices and see what happens if they will be co-sponsors. And then Mara Lee's going to hit Wisconsin as well. So, but definitely call your senators also.
So I would like to go back to the act for a minute. So I know that it will create just a right in general for all people throughout the country. But my question is, how do you think that it will kind of be carried out state by state? Because right now, so obviously part of the problem is that its services are so optional. But another problem is that every state offers such widely different services. And so that creates a problem if you try to say like move from one state to another. And I was wondering if you think that this act will affect that problem too.
I think that it will address it to an extent because there are specific parameters on what constitutes as discrimination and the services that at minimum have to be provided. It doesn't tell you how you have to provide it. It does tell you these particular services that may be needed must be provided, such as right now, not all states will help with IADLs. They'll only help with ADLs. IADLs have to be addressed as well. Which is instrumental activities of daily living. Also, health tasks. So there's these things called health-related tasks that aren't an activity of daily living and aren't an instrumental activity of daily living, but you still need them, like vent care or popping the pills into your actual mouth. If you don't have the ability to pop the pill in your mouth and you don't self-direct your services, that's called a health-related task. Those also have to be provided for. Queuing, things that would help people in the mental health community, such as queuing. A lot of people just need help with queuing, and states won't provide that. That has to be provided. So there are specific anti-discrimination requirements in there that will start to, I guess, unify states in the certain services that they provide. But very much like a business can choose how they want to be accessible under the ADA, the DIA also allows for that in states and in insurance providers. If the insurer wants to go through a certain company versus another company, they have the right to do that, to provide those services to you, so long as you're getting the services that are appropriate for your needs.
On that note, does it address sort of gaps when you try to move from one state to another? Like, so for instance, you have to reapply to a new waiver program when you move to a new state. And so a lot of times, there's waiting lists. Does it address waiting list problems at all?
Fuck yes, there's no waiting list. Never. There's no waiver. If you want to know why, a waiver says I'm waiving my right to nursing facility services and community services. You don't have to waive shit anymore because it's not your right to live in a nursing facility anymore. It's your right to live in the community. It's the most beautiful thing in the whole world.
Okay, awesome.
I'm really pumped about this, guys. Yeah. So I just want to go back to Emily first. In no way do I think you're a slacker or anyone else is. I just get to be angry sometimes because, I'm a lawyer and a redhead and things get ugly. But I think that the media that we do need is from the actual people who will impact. And I think personal stories have been very helpful for us in the passage of the ADA and everything else. We have used larger tactics before. We did take out an ad in Times Square before, which was great. And if we have the funds to do something like that, that is never something that we're going to strike out and say no. What we're going to do is we're going to weigh between this amount of money, get 300 people to Washington, D.C. to talk to legislators, or one ad. Which should we do? So it's really about what will have the greater impact and bang for our very small buck. And ADAPT has been going for over 30 years. So that's not to say that we don't know what we're doing. It is to say that we're still a not-for-profit, that money doesn't come in easy. So,
well, and I don't mean to be insulting to ADAPT because I love ADAPT, but your job is not to do PR. Your job is to create the, to be a grassroots organization of peers with disabilities that are fighting for rights. I mean, you're like the talent and scope of ADAPT doesn't always include like PR greatness. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
thank you for being like the first person to recognize that we should have to be the be all.
I am not like I mean, but like I've seen the flyers that are coming out of the ADAPT office in Texas, at least in Austin. I love Bob Kafka. He's a great guy, but his flyers totally blow. Like you can't. I mean, they're not well done. I mean, there's a lot that's really missing. The website is ages old. It doesn't have like flair. I get it. I know that you guys are grassroots. I realize that, but I think a balance that needs to occur. And I think that that's really hurting you guys. I think that, people with disabilities, and I've learned this because, of the organization I'm in and the projects I do, people have to say they're going to help, but when the shit comes down, a lot of people don't do anything. And so, but people will give money. And so maybe that's what, and I realize a lot of people with disabilities don't make a lot of money, they don't have a lot of money. There are a lot of just people with disabilities that have it. And so maybe we need to start, I don't know, it's a suggestion.
We could do an ice bucket challenge.
I hate you.
Right. But I think that video is really powerful. I think that these stupid ice bucket challenge, these pieces of shit things that people do to raise money for cures, or I think that that kind of can be applied. You know what I mean? Like you could go into a nursing home or shit in a bucket. That would be, instead of an ice bucket, you could do a shit in a bucket challenge or something like that, or try to have a bed bath for 2 weeks straight, and or something that nursing home challenge or something like that. But that would get people kind of entertained, but at the same time, it would bring the point home. And
here's a bumper sticker: DIA is the cure.
Right. But I just feel like that's really gonna. There's a lot of weight in going to your legislator and talking to your legislators, but my legislators are pure, close to evil. My governor doesn't believe he has a disability. He thinks it's all, and if you have a disability, it's all in your head. I could go.
Told him?
Huh?
Is that what his wheelchair told him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't show it. He doesn't have a wheelchair. It's just it's an imaginary. It's all a figment of our imagination.
FDR style, nice.
But anyway, it's. I could say that I fired my representative, my local representative, because he went against Planned Parenthood. So I already wrote him a really horrible letter telling him shit. So the fact that I have to go to him now and ask him for help with this is kind of intimidating. But anyway, I just think that if they had more of a lobby on our side, then maybe they would listen. Do we have a lobby? Do people with disabilities have a lobby? Are we lobbyers? Do we lobby? I don't.
Adapt is the closest we are. Bottom line is we're all poor, and we're
not all poor.
Institutionalized. And I don't mean all, but I'm just saying, you look at the statistics, and it's bad.
Okay, but we're all citizens. We all have the right to address our grievances to our representatives.
I totally agree. Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, let me be clear. My intention when I started the Living with MD group 3 years ago, whatever it was, I thought we would have, I was naive. I thought we would have 100,000 members by now, and we would have a fucking march on Washington and change the world. And what I discovered is that it is so incredibly difficult to just identify who the other disabled people are. To get them into a unified voice. There is no NRA that joins all.
I love how you say NRA.
That rates and scores legislators based on their votes and strikes fear into people like the NRA does. I would love to have something like that.
Well, there is a national bullshit organization called AAPD, which I don't think too much of.
What's it called?
AAPD.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Disabilities in there.
Yeah.
I would like to defend AAPD since we reformed them last year. Things are getting better.
Okay, if you think better, I'll keep it open mind, but we wasted a couple of years pissing with them.
This is just a huge personal frustration of mine. I want more disabled people to be seeking each other out and being fucking mad like the LGBT community did, and forcing change. And I feel a lot of times like, there's not enough of us. There's just so many people that are just beat down that, it's hard to get people fired up. This law is incredibly exciting to me. I just give you tons of credit, Stephanie, for writing it the way you did. This idea of making it a civil right is huge. So I want to do everything I can. I'm going to eat crow, and I've written lots of nasty letters, but I'm going to go talk to every person I wrote a nasty letter to and ask them to sign on to this, because I just believe in it strongly. But we got to think as a group, how do we penetrate the disability community deeper and get into these nursing homes, get into these people who are locked in their parents' bedroom, and get their voice, as part of the union to make this happen,
So my thoughts are that I personally want to try to reach out to like universities, to maybe try to increase like awareness for this, just because I found that college age students usually are pretty good at social media and raising awareness for things that way generally. So I mean, just something small. I'm going to try to hear. I'm seeking I guess exactly a week from I'm going to bring them in, and probably what I do is write out some and then just have them sign it to our representatives. I've done that back when I was in college. I started a disability advocacy group and would do that, and found it's pretty effective to just sort of have kind of disability advocacy events. And then if I had something like this, I would write a letter and just have them sign it. And so, I mean, that's just a thought. Sometimes it helps.
I think that's a good idea, because like college kids, they're all excited when they're in school, but then if possibly looking at the situation of having to go to their home after they graduate, they might not like that. So I think that's, there's a whole society for disability studies, and there's usually a organization on many universities. So I think that's a great idea.
One thing I want to suggest also is, I brought this up at an ADAPT meeting years ago, and they kind of looked at me funny, but I still think it's brilliant. I think that we should be putting a lot of literature in pharmacies. Every pharmacy should have something about the Disability Integration Act around it. Why? Because people go there and they sit around and they wait for their medication. And while they're there, they obviously have an issue that's probably being, and either they're elderly or they're disabled. And they should see something at the pharmacy about this issue. And I really think that it's a kind of a secret target. And I just want to say that out loud, because maybe it'll get to the right people. But I believe in pharmacy outreach.
Or maybe doctor's offices instead.
Yeah.
Or both. And maybe the easier way to reach out to doctors would be like through like the AMA, like the American Medical Association, so that they're aware of this. Maybe.
What about the home care companies? I would think that they have a strong interest to lobby for this.
Yeah.
If I owned a home care company, I would want this to pass.
Yeah, definitely. And I bet that they could put a lot of money towards helping, adapt with.
Right. Well, that's what I was thinking is, there's people that would probably be willing to invest some money in making this happen because it would benefit them directly.
Is Nickel doing anything? Are they, what is Nickel doing?
Nickel is strongly supporting this. Nickel has put this as their top priority on their agenda. Every year, Nickel does a conference and they have a priority agenda. Last year, we got over 1,000 people to go out in one day to just ramp up before the Disability Integration Act was even introduced, talking to the legislators about it. So that was really exciting to get over 1,000 people in one day to talk about this. Nickel is really using their leverage in a positive way to get a lot of people to use their advocacy, and really they've been pumping up on advocacy as a core service, because a lot of CILs tend to forget that advocacy is a core service that is required, and is saying, hey, you know what would be an easy way to fulfill your core service? Let's fight for the DIA. So Nickel has an extremely limited budget, I know, because they've never freaking paid me for all the work I do. But I love Kelly and Nickel, so I'm okay with that. But I do like that they are using their prominence in the independent living center community to really push CILs to get their shit together and get on this.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm glad you answered so many great questions. We can take like maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Does anybody else have anything else that they want to say tonight?
I was
How
gonna
do I
say,
get on your mailing list, Stephanie?
Well, you can either send me a cheeseburger or just send me an email and say, hey, I want to hear from you all the time because you're just so smart and pretty, to swoodward, WOODWARD, at cdrnys.org. That is CDR.
Can you type that in the chat?
Oh, you are so good.
Thanks. I'm going to type it in the chat. All right, anybody else have any other? And Joey, thanks for joining us. I know you said you were going to be late tonight. I'm glad you came.
Yeah.
I have one last question. I think last weekend was the Silk Congress. Do you know whether the National Statewide Independent Living Council organization is pushing this?
I'm not sure about the National Silk. I do know that Nice Silk, which is New York Silk, is on board. But as you all have been talking, I have been writing down weird things like pharmacies and home care companies and universities. So I'm adding National Silk to my list. And I will check on that. If we're not already doing it, pushing them. And if we're already doing it, then I can call you tomorrow and be like, ha, TK, I'm already on that.
I can ask Regina what happened with it. Regina Bly, my buddy. So I will ask her.
Olive.
She's like the president of Silk Congress, or she was, or something. I'll ask her. So, all right, Joey, do you have any questions since you came late?
I mean, not really. I was just wondering, like, how would it make it where the states have to fund in-home care? They can't just say we don't have the budget for it. Like, how would the law address that?
The law in and of itself, in its most basic form, says that any state or insurance provider that pays for nursing facilities must pay for community-based services. That's it. No questions. You find a fucking way to pay for it. And oddly, the more people you let out of nursing facilities and into the community, the cheaper it is. So that's how it's addressed as states. You don't have a choice anymore. We tried incentivizing you. We had a Supreme Court law that says you have to do this according to the Supreme Court rules. You don't want to listen? Fine. We're putting it in regulation and statute.
Okay.
So I just wanted to thank you all for letting me talk at you forever, especially you, Canada, because I'm sure that you really enjoyed this. But I loved all of your ideas. I love your enthusiasm. And please know that I will accept any help you guys want to give out. If you guys are creative, we'll take it. If you guys do want to donate, we'll take that too. You want help, you want talking points for your legislators, email me and let me know. I will do everything I can, because despite Emily's wonderful thought that I'm not supposed to do everything, sometimes I feel like that's all I'm supposed to do is everything. So I'm happy to do everything I can to help you push this, because I can't be in your states. I can't be doing this. And I certainly can't make the flyers because they come out like with, you know, clip art on them, which apparently isn't a cool thing.
They look like Bob Kafka's flyers.
I mean, probably with more colors. But otherwise, Bob and I do share similar artistic skills. I can make a really mean hand turkey, though. I'm just throwing that out there. If flyers were all hand turkeys, we'd be set. We'd already have the law in place.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming out and talking to us cripples.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
everybody.
All right.
Free our people.
Oh,
All right. Good night.
Good night.